Imagine that all electricity around the world suddenly goes out tonight. No streetlights, no smartphone screens, no lights shining from houses, only darkness, deep, silent. And somehow, even though you know you're safe, your heart begins to beat faster. You feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little afraid. But why? Why are humans afraid of the dark? Why does that feeling appear even when we know there's no danger around us? And more importantly, could this fear be a survival instinct inherited from our ancestors who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago? Today, humans live in a world filled with light. With the flip of a switch, we can illuminate an entire room. But for most of human history, life was very different. For nearly all of our evolutionary journey, nighttime was a completely different world. When the sun disappeared below the horizon, uncertainty took over. There were no flashlights, no electric lamps, no street lights. Humans had only moonlight, starlight, and campfires. Beyond the circle of firelight, there was only darkness. Let's travel back to Africa around 200,000 years ago. This was the world of the first modern humans. During the day, life was relatively safe. People could spot dangers from a distance. They could hunt, gather food, and explore their surroundings. But when night arrived, everything changed. Human vision was not designed for darkness. Unlike many predators, at night, humanity's greatest enemies became far more dangerous: lions, hyenas, leopards, and other predators. Many of these animals possess excellent night vision. While humans could barely see a few meters ahead, predators could move and hunt much more effectively. The night gave them a tremendous advantage and placed humans at a serious disadvantage. For thousands of generations, humans who were careless around darkness faced serious risks. They wandered too far from the group, too far from the safety of the fire, or failed to notice a predator lurking nearby. Meanwhile, humans who were naturally cautious around darkness survived more often. They stayed alert, stayed close to safety, and were more likely to pass on their genes. Slowly, evolution shaped the human brain, creating a tendency to view darkness as something potentially dangerous. Inside the human brain is a structure called the amygdala. It plays a critical role in detecting threats. What's fascinating is that the amygdala doesn't always require clear evidence of danger to trigger fear. Sometimes uncertainty alone is enough, and darkness is one of the greatest forms of uncertainty, because when we cannot see, our brain doesn't know what might be around us. Have you ever seen a shadow in a dark room and thought it was a person, or heard a small sound and imagined something terrifying? This happens because the human brain dislikes missing information. When vision becomes limited, the brain begins filling in the blanks. And in survival terms, it's safer to assume danger than to assume safety, because if the brain guesses wrong, the consequences could be deadly. Interestingly, fear of the dark is often stronger in children. Why? Because children are still learning how the world works. They don't yet have enough experience to separate real threats from imaginary ones. As a result, their imagination becomes extremely active. A shadow becomes a monster. A creaking sound becomes a mysterious creature. And an empty room becomes a frightening place. Around 1 million years ago, human ancestors learned how to control fire. This was one of the most important discoveries in human history. Fire provided warmth, got cooked food, and perhaps most importantly, light. For the first time, humans could extend their activities beyond sunset. Fire also helped keep predators away. Darkness no longer completely controlled the night. Yet, even after mastering fire, humanity's fear of darkness never completely disappeared. Almost every culture on Earth developed stories about creatures that live in the dark. Ghosts, monsters. Spirits. And mysterious beings. What's remarkable is that many of these stories existed long before horror movies or modern entertainment. This suggests that humans naturally associate darkness with uncertainty and danger. Today, most humans no longer live alongside large predators. We have electric lights, safe homes, technology, and security systems, yet our brains still run on the same ancient software inherited from ancestors who survived in the wilderness. Because evolution moved slowly, while technology changes incredibly fast. Even though we know there isn't a lion hiding in our bedroom, the primitive parts of our brains still react to darkness. Because for millions of years, darkness meant uncertainty. And to the human brain, uncertainty often means potential danger. That's why many people still feel more comfortable sleeping with a small light on, or feel calmer when there's at least some light nearby. Not necessarily. In moderate amounts, fear of the dark is actually a protective mechanism. Fear makes us more alert, more cautious, and more aware of our surroundings. The problem begins when fear becomes excessive and starts interfering with daily life. But a little fear of the dark is actually a very human trait. So why are humans afraid of the dark? Because for hundreds of thousands of years, darkness was genuinely dangerous for our ancestors. Predators lurked nearby. Threats remained hidden, and a single mistake could be fatal. Evolution shaped a brain that remains cautious about what it cannot see. Even though the world has changed dramatically, our brains still carry traces of that ancient past. So the next time you feel a little uneasy in a dark room, remember this: it's not because you're weak, it's because an ancient survival instinct is speaking through you, a voice inherited from ancestors who survived beneath the dark skies of prehistoric Africa thousands of generations ago, and perhaps that fear once saved their lives. If you enjoyed this video about human evolution and the mysteries of human behavior, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below. What modern human behavior do you think originated during prehistoric times? See you in the next video.